Normally we've gone into legislative sessions with some sort of crisis looming or something that's going on. Right now we don't necessarily have that. Now there are things that need to be worked on, and so I'm optimistic that we will work on several things that have been long-term problems that just have not been dealt with because we've spent so much energy on certain crises. But I am optimistic for 2022. I think we've got a great year. We're going to look at tax reform. We're going to look at a lot of these issues that will really affect day-to-day individuals and businesses to ensure that South Carolina continues to be an amazing place to live, work, and play.
I represent a rural district. We've got to step up to our rural parts of our state and bring them in line and bring them the advantages that some of the larger municipalities and the larger metropolitan areas are enjoying. That's the most calls I get is about broadband, and I tell everybody, well, don't feel bad because I don't have it in my house. I chaired a subcommittee one time and they were talking about 3G, 4G, and 5G, and I said, well, keep in mind my house has no G. That's the broadband issue is just as important as water and sewer used to be in electricity.
One of the things that the Chamber has issued as part of their policy agenda for next year is the infrastructure for the electric vehicles. We addressed that last year. We had a Senate bill come over from West Clymer, and we amended it, and it went back to the Senate and passed, whereby we put together a study committee to study the demands that are going to be placed on our utility providers. They're going to go up, right? At the same time, when those vehicles are on the road, they're using the road just like gas-operated combustion engines, and so there's going to be wear and tear, but they're not going to be purchasing fuel, which is the only mechanism we have to pay to fix the roads and bridges, right? So, how are we going to address that, as well as the charging, how that's going to work? They can't be utilities to charge the individual charging stations.
As far as this coming year, I've got a bill that's passed out of the Senate. It's now in the House. They call it the paralysis bill. And don't worry, nobody knows what paralysis is. But everybody knows what plastics is. Plastics are. We've been fussing about plastic and waste in the General Assembly ever since I've been there, since '06. This process takes plastic, cleans it, makes it recyclable, actually breaks it down back to the molecular level. We toured a couple of facilities in Georgia that takes plastic and breaks it down, like you say, to the molecular level. They turn it into fuel.
Just take our community, Anderson County. We just had to go in and have a referendum to raise taxes on for the fire service. The first one they had since 1983. The cost of the equipment has more than quadrupled. Only the tax base that's there are donations is what we're doing. The state really doesn't go in and do a lot of grants. The federal government does. So we're looking at trying to start a system so whenever you have, like Anderson County is just robust development, whether it's subdivisions or whether it's manufacturing facilities or distribution centers, we're dependent upon that volunteer fire system to protect them. They're having to build a fire station. If you need a truck, you can't just let it sit outside. You're talking now a pumper truck's about $500,000. I mean, you're not going to leave a $500,000 piece of equipment that you're going to need. You don't know when you need it, but when you do need it, you need it to be operated properly and not be frozen and rusted up. So, they can't use any of that type of money for build a station. Then you got to do the truck. So it's very expensive. So I want to see some of that non-recurring money, as well as on insurance premiums. There's a premium tax. It currently goes to the general fund. Some of it's used for fire, but not much. I think 1%. So get more of that money into it to have a stable fund, because that is your property insurance, your fire protection. So we need to be using that money to protect for fires.
The South Carolina legislature is incredibly accessible, and from really what we call primary resource documents. We have a State House website that is, I'd put it up against anybody else's in the country. You can go, you can watch every meeting, you can watch every day that we're debating, you can look up the bills, you can see the fiscal impact statements. You get all the information that we have about those bills because it's all online, and there's a great archives there. But we also have a South Carolina legislature app. and you can download that app. You can choose your representative to get notified, so you'll know what bills we file, what we're doing. You can also follow certain committees. You can follow certain bills. So if you have a bill that you've asked your representative to introduce and he tells you the bill number, you can go in there and follow it.
The biggest thing that about getting things done this year is you better well have it done by the end of March, because the House is up for re-election. Their filing will be done by the end of March. I think you're going to see us, the Senate, hit the ground running on the things that we talked about: the certificate of need, the convention of states, and the medical marijuana. Was three of our things that they want to try to get to pretty quick. And of course the budget, it's the big thing that we do every year. And South Carolina's in a very good fiscal spot. We have to balance our budget. We have to have an independent auditor actually make sure our budget is in balance before we can take the final vote on it. A lot of states don't do that, and they're suffering the consequences for it. And that's what's helped us through the COVID situation that we've had to come back as strong as we have.